Hi guys, it's Rachel here. I'm a bit late today. It's day 66 of the 100-day project, and the request came from Lynn, and it's her. I had to be inspired by Mum's favorite hobby. Well, we all know what Mum's favorite hobby is. It's sewing. And Mum really is someone who she likes to create texture with fabric. So I've been procrastinating all day because I do a lot of sewing inspired by Mum, and you've even seen me do some of it. So yeah, it made me procrastinate all day trying to think what would I do. I've got all my thread. Let me just organize my thing. I just brought a few things in from the other room. So I thought maybe I would make a little piece that could be like the binding or the spine of a journal. And Mum particularly uses a lot of these, I'll say oriental. So this is like, these are actually Japanese, but I also have some Vietnamese fabrics as well that are similar to that came from Vietnam. But I have lots of these beautiful pieces of Japanese. I think they're from borrows, antique borrows and stuff, and I got them at Edo Arts in Sydney. And yeah, and some Mum gave me as well, so I have quite a lot here. So it's quite lots of navies and that sort of thing. So I thought, or I could make a piece that could become a spine, or I could what did I want to say, I could do little pieces that you could attach to a page, or on a tag or something like that. Anyway, we'll just see where it takes us. I also brought in this that I could play with. I mean, Mum would love those, and I brought this in because Mum loves to use these sorts of things as well. So I thought maybe I could snip that off, but we'll see if the colour goes, because I might go navy blues. I don't know. I'll see. I might cut a piece of this. This is some beautiful antique Italian hemp in one of my favorite colors. It's the more natural color. It's not been bleached or anything like that. So I'll just randomly cut it, as you do. Okay, that's about the size that I'll work with today. I'll put that on the floor, and then I'm just going to play with it to see what sort of thing would I create. See, that could be great to bind a little book like that. The other thing you could do is do strips that are decorated. But anyway, we won't get sidetracked. Okay, so what will I do? I'm just thinking. I think I'll have a bit of this. I love this. This is something to be captured. See, Mum would use, I mean, Mum does everything. Like, she does even, French style sewing, and, all those sorts of pretty pastel colors. But she also goes very Japanesey as well. She's really quite amazing. See, I already love that with colour. And she's a great source of inspiration for Sass and myself. Isn't that beautiful? Let's see what I mean. I bought these, and they've literally sat in this basket since I bought them. Isn't that shameful? Because I just never have time, and I don't ever. Look, it was $5. I never I don't pull them out because then I'm tired and I'm not feeling inspired. Well, I'm going to take some of this. I love this color too. I'm just going to cut a strip off. I like to cut it, keep the fabric fairly even, although I don't always. I'm just playing around with it for a second and then I'll work it out better. And I have all these wonderful little bits that already, see Mum would even put that on backwards. I would have that one there, and maybe that's too much. Might go a bit lighter. Don't think I want any red. Mum would probably, something that she would do is add a circle somewhere. I had a circle, I brought one in, and do you think I can find it? It's probably over here. Oh, this is, I mean, then she'd, isn't that beautiful? That's a French fabric, I think. No, I can't see it. I'll have to cut another circle if I don't find it. I've also got this. These are these beautiful laces that I got, but I only think I like the one piece of lace. They're the beautiful laces I got from Florence the last time I went there before lockdown. Oh, that was the weekend before. Well, no, not everything was locked down. We were, Lulu's school was shut. That's the weekend before Lulu's school was shut. Oh, there's a circle right there. See, I could add a, oh yeah, I like that composition. I won't go too far down because oh, all my pins are in the other end. I've got my big pin cushion here. Just a sec. Okay, so I'll pin these down. That's the right way. So there, I mean, it could be anything. I was thinking. Okay. Sorry, I'm eavesdropping on my daughter. That's why I went quiet. I'm a disaster. Terrible, terrible mother. Terrible. Don't eavesdrop on your children. Okay. So I've got my little bit of texture here. I'm putting this on backwards because I love that. And I think that would be just the most beautiful spine for a scrappy something little journal. It'd be beautiful on the front of a journal as well. So I'll stitch it, then I'll pause the video. I'll start stitching. I'll show you how I'm going to stitch it. I'll pause the video and then I will show you what I've done, because otherwise it'll be really long. We'll do a little bit. Otherwise it'll be super long. Goodness knows if I'll get this done before dinner. I have procrastinated all day. All day. The procrastinate. And can you tell that I'm tired today? I just had this big, I've been productive all day. All day I've been productive. And then all of a sudden, at a certain hour, I became really tired and I had to lie down, which I never do. And then, I like that colour more. Oh, that colour's better. This is a bit pinky. And then, and part of it was stressing. Totally stressing about what to do here. Totally stressing, totally overthinking it and fretting and worrying. And another thing that my mum loves to do is couch things on. So this might become a work in progress. Now I know some of you don't like the stitching videos, but this is the request for today. So what will I do first? I think I'm going to do my brown one. I'm just going to whip stitch it on. So how is everybody today? I hope you're well. We've had some quite stormy days the last few days, so the temperatures, it's been a little bit humid, but the temperature's quite nice. Not too high, low 20s, which is nice, mid to low 20s, but a little bit humid because there's been thunderstorms. So yesterday, before I did my video, there were quite a lot of thunderstorms about. There were meant to be some today, but they don't appear to be happening. And Steph's been home all day because it's a public holiday in San Marino. And Lulu's on a video chat with her friends. I'm sure you can hear her giggling away. So this is a fast way of stitching it on. My mum would be doing rows and rows and rows of stitching, but I'm interpreting my mum. I'm not doing the same as her. And another thing she loves to do is to add, like cut out a circle and then add another fabric behind it. Just a minute, there we go. Okay, I'll end that one off. So I'm using a thread that's a fairly similar colour to this background actually. It's quite a tough linen to stitch too. It's not really linen, it's hemp. So I'm using 2 strands. Don't know why, just decided to use 2 strands. Just did it. Actually, I've got to make my mum something for her birthday. It's past. I'm not actually sending, she knows I'm not sending her anything right now, just to be sure. Because I'll be sending her a big box of stuff. I like to gather up a whole lot of stuff and just send it to her. Some of, I've collected up fabrics that I've been intending to share with Mum. So, and all kinds of stuff. So maybe I should make her a scrappy journal with something inspired by her. She'd like that. She would like it. So a lot of you have been asking how is Sarah, because Sarah didn't usually, we all know she's back at work. Sarah's my sister, Roxy Creations by Sarah. She's also doing the 100-day project, but she's actually back at work at the moment. And until she's on school holidays again, she probably won't get that many videos done. But normally she does a couple on the weekend, but she didn't get them done this weekend because she was away with my dad. And she went to visit Mum quite a bit because she hasn't seen Mum for months. So that's why you haven't seen her. She hasn't produced a video. So, yeah, some of you are asking if she was okay. Yes, she's fine. So thank you for your concern. It's really lovely. Some of you ask her and she's probably answered you, but I just thought I'd put it out there. That Sarah is fine. Okay. Well, my daughter sounds very happy there, chitter-chattering on the telephone. Okay. So we've nearly put this piece on. Now I won't get in as much texture as Mum. It's just really a timing thing. I do love these colours. Really love them. Oh, she's singing. Very happy. Now, I'm thinking with the lace, rather than do the obvious and stitch it on with this beigey sort of thread, I'm thinking, I might stitch it on with a blue and just do little teeny tiny stitches. Oh, I've got this nice blue thread that my mum gave me. It's a variegated thread, or did I buy it? I don't know, but I think I'll use that. Let me just see. I don't think I want to use a wool. I mean, that wool would be the most perfect colour, wouldn't it? No, I think I'll use this one because this is the type of thread that, these are the types of threads that my mum uses. So I'll show you what I'll do there. I'm also going to show you, which I promised I was going to show quite a while ago, is how Mum did those fluffy textural circle ball things. So I'll do one of those. Maybe I'll do it in that. So you get to see one of those, because I did a couple of them on my Anne Brooke strip. Now I have I hope you can see what I'm doing, because I didn't zoom in, but if I zoom in I tend to go off screen, and then you don't like that either. So maybe I'll try and hold it up a bit higher, and hopefully it doesn't go blurry. All I'm doing, this is very simple stitching, so all I've done is the whip stitch around there, and then here I'm going to do little teeny tiny stitches with this lovely thread that will change colour as we go. That stitch might even be too big. No, that's perfect. I'm just doing little stitches around. Oh gosh, it's lovely thread. I don't know what type of thread. It's a hand-dyed one. I bought it in Australia. Oh, what fun. I don't know why I had to procrastinate all day. Can you hear? This is how I am today. It's a disaster. Steph's gone off to cut his hair. If he could hear me speaking, he'd be crying laughing. So he said, why are you faffing about so much about doing your video? And I said, I don't know what to do. And he's like, show me something that your mum's made. And so I've pulled out the pillow cover that Mum gave us, and he said, well, she likes stitching down things. She likes doing stitches like this. This is what she does, so you can just do some stitches like that. I'm like, Stefano, you're not being very helpful. That's not very inventive. He was so funny, but he was really serious. He was just trying to help me. Oh dear, it was funny. So what could I tell you to keep you interested? Oh, I know. I had some information to tell you about the Colosseum, because that I showed Steffi what I made, and he absolutely loved it, because, you know, it was quite, I used his kits that, you know, that he designed, of course, the architecture ones, and he loves, you know, the Colosseum. And so he told me a little bit about the Colosseum. It's just that it was a couple of days ago, and I completely forgot to tell you guys what he told me, but it was interesting. And I might not remember it all, so let me just think for a second. Oh, so basically, yep, the Colosseum was several stories, and it had a retracting roof it was made with big sort of veils, like fabric curtain-y sort of things that they retracted back, so that people didn't, you know, die of heat when they were watching the horrible spectacle below. And there were 2 stories below the floor where the gladiators fought, and there were trapdoors. So one floor had the vicious animals, like the dangerous animals, like lions and things. And then the other floor housed the slaves and the gladiators. And so basically there were trapdoors. And so in the middle of the fight, they could, you know, have a new competitor enter in the middle of the fight from the trapdoor, or they could have like one of the ferocious animals enter in as well. So and I'm sure lots of you have seen the movie The Gladiator. It was quite a brutal sort of event. Anyway, so what did Steph tell me? Oh yeah, and I asked him how was it sort of decorated, and he said, well, they had parts of it was covered in marble, and then they had a lot of, I think they were bronze or gold, no, not gold, bronze statues all around the outside. Inside was fairly simple, and there were lots of curtains everywhere. So there were lots of curtains too. And then he told me that about the Romans, how, because I've never studied the Romans actually. So anything that I've ever known about them, it's because I've, read it somewhere or, worked it out myself. That the Romans were really, I mean, we all know they were very amazing technologically. And they were the first civilization to bring water to the city. And he just said, try to imagine how amazing that was, because the most important thing is if you brought water to the city, you couldn't have stagnant water because that brought disease. So they were really amazing with their engineering, that they actually realized that they needed to have the water coming in on a slope so it would run through the city, but it went to every single household. They were the first civilization to do that, so that was pretty amazing. And they had a whole system of drainage, of course, but they also had like a sanitary system, so toilets and that sort of thing. So they didn't just do their business in a hole and let it stay there. It sort of ran away. Like they realized that the importance of cleanliness and having a good sort of health system. And what else did he tell me that was really interesting? Oh, he said that the experts, like Roman sort of experts, have said that if the Romans, they had a lot of slaves. So they had a lot of slaves that I think a lot of them came from Africa. And probably not a great topic at this time, but they did have a lot of slaves. And had they not had the slaves, they were so incredibly advanced technologically and inventive with machinery and engineering that probably they would have had the industrial revolution straight away, because they would have figured out how to create the machines to make the work easier for man. But they didn't need to, because they had, inverted commas, free source of labor. So they did that. That was their machinery. So that's why the Industrial Revolution came later then. But then after the Roman Empire fell, you have the beginning of the Dark Ages, and that was when the church didn't want any learning. They were afraid of it. They thought, that people who knew things were dangerous, and so they quashed all learning. Like, it became forbidden to, all of the Roman discoveries and inventions became forbidden. And so man went backwards as far as development is concerned, which I find really interesting. So, so that's what he told me. There you go. That kept you busy. I never actually studied, because at school, when we were at school for the HSC, you sort of studied ancient civilization for the HSC. It was a choice, and I didn't do ancient history. I did modern history, so I never studied it, but it's really interesting. So I think I might have to watch some documentaries and learn some more. But Italians are amazing, because they are, well, of course it's important to them because it's part of their history, but I've noticed even with Lulu from elementary school, they really, in every phase of school, they study the Romans, and they really know, by the time they get to university, they know so much about them. I find them very well, they get a very well-rounded education as far as history is concerned, the Italian kids. Well, if they pay attention, of course, because there are those who don't pay attention and don't learn anything. Don't remember because they didn't listen. Okay, so I'm liking this choice. It's going to take me a minute to do it. So let me just have a look, see how much more I've got to do. I'll show you up close. So that's just very easy stitching. Anyone can do that. Anyone can do it. So here, I'm just stitching around, and I really like the effect it has. I'm probably not going to go all in there. I'm just going to go around. I did come back in here just because there was a big space there. I'm going to come around here and do all just the periphery of it. And then here I think I'll probably do this one. I might just do a sort of invisible, just little stitches. I'll do similar color running stitches, I think, in that one, and I don't know what I'll do in that one yet. And then I'll do something around that, and I want to show you the fluffy one as well. I'm just thinking, what color do I want to do it in? So I don't want to do it in brown necessarily. I've got a few wools here in this bag that I've shown you this bag before. I quite like the yellow, but then I do like I might do it in blue. Let's do it in blue. So what I need to do is grab my little pen here, and I'm just going to draw a ball. Now I don't want a circle. I'm drawing a circle. That's what I'm doing, not a ball. I think I'll just do it freehand. I think I'll have it go. Well, that's very thick there. Oh, I could have it. Okay, just a minute. I've changed my mind. I need to stitch this down a minute. So I'm just going to, sorry guys, I'm just going to grab a thread similar color. So I'll just go here to my DMC, and I'll just grab probably this one. Yep. And I'll just grab one strand and quickly stitch around it, if you don't mind. If you don't mind. And I don't have any more Roman news to tell you because I don't know so much. I don't know anymore. I need my husband here. I could have gotten him. He's gone to cut his hair. I could have had him come and tell us about it. And Lulu's chatting. She probably knows stuff. But I think they were also like the emperors, the Caesars. I think they were quite decadent sort of people too. There were some naughty ones. Well, I think that the naughty ones are the ones that came later, and they ruined the society. And they became greedy, and I think I'm not quite sure. I'll have to ask Lulu what caused the collapse. But I reckon that's probably what brought their downfall. But isn't it incredible when you walk around, so much of what they built is still around, the remains of it. And, you know, some of it I think would be in great nick, but it had been, well, we know Pompeii got covered by ash, which is another interesting story. There's quite a few sort of documentaries on YouTube. I think I'm going to watch some of them. But some of them were bombed during the wars. So, and like I know in Rimini, a lot of the old part of Rimini was bombed in the war. Otherwise, it'll be standing. But then I think also in the medieval times, like in Florence, there's an amphitheatre, but you can't see it. There's like this area where the roads are curved, and that's during the medieval times, the Dark Ages, or the Middle Ages. They actually built the buildings into the amphitheatre. So you've got the shape of the amphitheatre, but the origins, like it's not what it used to look like, obviously, when the Romans were about, because they built houses into it. And Florence is actually full of Roman ruins, like underneath it, but they can't, they have had amazing discoveries, but they can't excavate it all, because otherwise they have to pull up Piazza della Signoria and the Duomo, and there's all the important Renaissance buildings and squares as well. So they can't actually excavate all of the Roman remains. So, and then as I was saying, in the Middle Ages, they obviously tried to sort of get rid of what was remaining from the Roman period. So that's why we don't have, a lot of it was buried, because they built on top of it. But I do think one of the best places to visit is Pompeii. I didn't even want to go. Like, Sarah was really insistent, and it was kind of, I was worried about getting there, but just because it was just us. No, we didn't have Steffi with us. And I thought I didn't want to go. I know Naples is meant to be beautiful, but Naples, I've just heard that, you know, like going to the train station and there it can be a bit dicey. And so I was a bit nervous about it. And then I was just trying to discourage going. I'm saying, but how are we going to get there? It's going to take us like 6 hours because we have to change trains and we have to go to the Boggy train station in Naples. And so she was so insistent. Then I found a bus that went from Rome there, and it was 3 hours. It was really quite quick, and it was great. So, and I was so thrilled that she insisted and that we went. I loved it. So here, I'm going to draw a circle. There you go, that's a pretty good circle. And I'm going to get this. Now, fortunately, I thought about it, and I brought in my needle book that has my little threader. Now, this, I haven't figured out this thread. This isn't like a hand-dyed. I think it's an Australian thread, actually. I bought it at the Cruel Goblin in Sydney. It's not very many sort of shops that have these wonderful threads. I'm going to try and thread it in this needle that doesn't have a very big eye. There we go, got it. And I probably should put my thing on. Now, I'm not exactly sure how you did this, Mum, if you watch, but I think this is what she did. So basically, I'm going down. I don't have a knot. I'm going to go down. Or did she do it like that? Yes, she went down like this, and then she came up. So she did the perimeter, and you just keep it loose like that. I'm going to come up next to it. I'll do my next one. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm just going on my border. It takes a while to do this, so I'll just show you the idea. And then you cut them. And I'll trim them down afterwards, but it does take a while to do because you've got to fill it all in. So I'll go around my edge and then I'll show you. And it does become quite thick. It's quite a tricky thing to do because it does become quite thick. And, oh goodness gracious me. I probably don't need to leave them quite so long. I might make it shorter. Just go and do that. I'm coming over here now. It is a little bit fiddly to do, but I did promise I would show you. You snip them. And it doesn't look like much at the moment. This looks like a hot mess. Now where am I? I'll come up here. So obviously the thicker the thread that you have, the faster you'll fill it. I pulled that one too far. There we go. And I'll go over there. So as you can see, it does become, as you fill it up, I did ask my mum how she did it, and this is what she told me. So there might be an easier way of doing it. I did try, I'll tell you what I did try, but I found that this was actually more effective. What I did try was just doing satin stitch all the way around and then snipping it, but then you have to go in and fill it anyway. So I didn't actually find that to be any faster, because you ended up having, you know, a whole lot of areas that you had to fill out. But once you get your edges done, I think it does go a little bit, it does end up going a little bit faster. But this is the problem here. You get all these bits getting tangled in there. You do end up with them all a little bit tangled. And then it's a bit like a pom-pom. You trim it once it's all full. I can't pick up my thing. Oh, I pulled it out. Doesn't matter. There's no problem. So I tend to sort of hold them out of the way. Might try and do a few and then snip them afterwards. This is typical of my mum. This is the type of stuff that she does, with great effect. Like, her work is just yummy. A lady asked her to do an exhibition at this place. They do wonderful exhibitions. Mum's like, no. It would. I think it would kill Mum's mojo if she had to do an exhibition. But honestly, I mean, her pieces are like works of art. I can't wait one day to get organised and sort of display them properly, the things that I've got. And Mum's like, oh, what do you want for Christmas? I'm like, Mum, just make me something. I just love anything that you have. Just make it for me. You don't need to spend any money. Just make it. Please make me stuff. I love your stuff. So just sort of slowly start filling it. But just making sure you sort of lift them if they start to get stitched down a little bit. And where else do I have gaps over here? I must have gaps over here, I do. I'll show you what it looks like on the back too, just so you can really see what's happening. I think look, that, see, I even like that on the back. So I'll just end that off. And it actually, you would think it'll all come out, but it won't. It won't come out because I didn't snip my last one. It's not my last one. I'm telling a lie. See, that's what it looks like so far. And you could even get, like, I did one with 2 colours. You could even have 2 colours in there if you wanted to. You could have different types of thread in there too. Like, you could have a wool and like this thread here and have, which I could do that. Give you different texture. We'll do a little bit more, and then maybe I'll do that off camera, because otherwise, honestly, it does take time. These things are not fast. Anyone who thinks that sewing is fast, have news for you. And I do wonder, like, maybe if I started in the center, it might have been easier. I don't know. I tried a few techniques in the 2 that I did on my Anne Brooke piece, but this was the one that I found to be the most effective. So let me just trim that. Okay, let's fan it out. I've got a few more gaps here. And then I'm going to start. So you don't have to go right over. I can go down next to it and then cut it. It looks like a hot mess, but it will come together. It does. It does come. Have faith. It does come together eventually. After fluffing about a little bit, it comes together. Okay, so now I can come in a little bit. So I didn't go right across for this one. I just went next to it. I don't know whether that's a good way, maybe. Maybe I'll just do that, go around like that. That might be faster. No, I think I like going across because I can move those out of the way. I get less tangled if I go across. And then I get tangled. And then go across there. So you can do a few and then cut them. Okay, so let's trim those. And you can, if you pull them down flat, then obviously they'll be shorter. So you could do that. What's happening here? Yeah, that's good. And you'll see it just slowly will fill up and we will be in action. If anyone has any suggestions as how you think you might do this, any suggestions are welcome, that I will try them. I did try a few, like I did try filling it and then snipping, but it didn't work. I still ended up having to do all this kind of work to fill in all the gaps that were there. But you can see it's starting to fill up now, and then I trim it, as I said, like a pom-pom. So it becomes all sort of neater. Let's go over here a little bit. So I've kind of filled up that side quite a bit. Maybe I need to go over here a little bit more. You start to sort of lose the plot a little bit, like you can't really see where you're going. Just use your thumb and hold it sort of out of the way. But I do like using wool, because wool does fill up. Doesn't seem like it, but it does fill up fairly quickly. Or otherwise use like the full 6 strands of the DMC too. That would help. It's going to go over here. I'll snip those in a minute. It's looking like a hot mess at the moment. It's just a hot mess. If my mum could see me, she'd be going, oh my goodness, what are you doing, daughter? That is not what I told you to do. I didn't understand what she told me to do, really. Okay, so let's grab the, pull that. See, it's nearly full. And obviously you get the nicer effect if it's, the fuller it is, the better it looks. So you just sort of fan it out and then do your stitches. That's good. Don't want it too short. So yeah, I think the secret is, as this is only my 3rd one I've ever done. I'm just going to pull those up a little bit. There we go. Do a few stitches and then snip them. So I'll snip those. Okay. In the end, I'm doing it all on screen, on the thing. But yeah, once you've gone around the edge, I do feel like it goes much faster. And DMC also have a cotton. It's a thick cotton. It's like looks like a wool, but it's cotton. I can't remember what it's called, but Mum first bought it here, but you couldn't get it in Australia for a long time, but you can now. Mum loves using that for this sort of thing too, because it's very thick and it sort of frays, if you know what I mean. It becomes fluffy. So I'll do one more stitch with this thread because it's getting short. Okay, snip that before I forget. And I'm just going to end that one off, and I get one more and we'll be done. I'm actually doing it all now on screen. I've changed my mind. I have changed my mind, as I do. Hopefully I'm recording. Wouldn't that be sad? I'd have to only show you the completed project. Okay. Okay. Oh, got a bit of fluff up my nose, tickling me. See, it's nearly there. There's only a little bit left. Just use your needle and fan it out. Oh, well, there's a bit left. You just can't see it because of the... Oh, we're going the wrong way. Got to start with the thread up this way, the opposite to what you normally do. Fan it out. So just use your needle to fan it all out, just to make sure everything's okay. Now the reason why I say to fan it out too, because otherwise you might be stitching your fluffy bits down, and you don't want to do that. Whoops, I just I got my needle stuck in the thread. It's not for the light-hearted. You get tangled. My daughter sounds like a mad woman today. She really does. There we go. That's that one. Now we're going to go across here. Oh, gosh, she's saying she's hungry. She's always hungry. Okay, let's cut these three and see how we're going. Okay, we've still got a little hole in the center. So let's see, this might be enough. I'm going to end that off. I think that might be enough, because then when you trim it down, I'm not pulling too hard. When you trim it down, doesn't matter, just cut it off. Who cares? Okay, when you trim it down, it'll all fluff. And if I feel like I've got any holes in there. Okay, so I'll grab my little basket here. I'm just going to snip it. I mean, it's up to you how thick it is. I've got my little fluffy. Oh, I love it. I'm glad I did it. So you trim it down quite a bit. It doesn't come out. It does not come out. That gives you the idea. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? So there's how you do the little fluffy bit. I love that. Good. Okay. Right. Well, I'll pause the video. I'll stitch on this and decide what to do with the rest. Otherwise, we'll be here till tomorrow. I might need to trim that a little bit more. Anyway, it's a bit like a pom-pom. See that? I love that. Thank you. Thank you for watching that one. Now I can go. No, I'm just joking. Okay, I'll be back in a second. Bye.